Okay, so now we know we've been talking about William Morley, right? The unfortunate, the idea that, hey, you had people that were basically bought and sold, and they looked like you and me, and they were worked to death, or if they were lucky, they got a good master, right? But the point I'm making is that there's two other individuals around the same time that William Morley is having his adventures in Philly and Jersey, that you found in the footnotes of the book, and who are these two men?
Okay, so let's do
We'll do one man.
timeline.
Okay. Right.
William Morley and Jimmy Annesley, were both bought and sold in the Philadelphia area in the 1720s and 30s. They both wrote their exposés in the 1740s.
Okay.
Peter Williamson and Gottlieb Mitterberger,
right.
They both wrote their books in the 1750s about the experiences they had in the 1740s. They were both bought and sold over here, and they managed to get back and write about this. John Harrower and Isreal Potter are men who were writing, who were living in the 1770s, and they were active in the opening phases of the American Revolution.
Okay.
Isreal Potter fought in the American Revolution. John Harrower was sold into Virginia on the eve of the American Revolution. So we could do this video on Isreal Potter.
Okay.
He's on Patreon right now. I think his entire memoir, which will run through the end of the year on Patreon, and it'll be collected in part of a 3-volume omnibus on Plantation America. The title of this 3-volume thing, which is going to take me the next 3 years to do, is In This New Israel. Volume 1 is The Planters. Volume 2 is The Reapers. Volume 3 is The Inheritors. And the conditions of Isreal Potter's life was that he was born free to his parents, who he claimed loved him. When he turned 18, they would not let him marry. He was starting to earn a living. He had to give them the money until he was 21. He wasn't allowed to earn his own money. His parents technically owned him until he was 21. And everything he made had to go to them. He ran away. First, he was beaten by friends of his parents for defying them and wanting to get married. And he still called these people his friends. And he ran away. He made a deal to work for a trader and went up the Hudson River, and the trader jilted him and refused to pay him. So he took him to court. He was a tall, imposing man with a good voice, and he was known as an honest worker, and the court made this man pay him. Then he sold himself for a number of years to a man in upstate New York, on the condition that when he was done clearing this 140 acres, he would get part of it,
right,
which I think was 40 or 50 acres.
Yeah, right.
This man treated him well. This man kept his deal.
Okay, good.
He cleared the land. He hunted. He became a good rifleman. He was born down, I think he was in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Maybe. He was born down by the coast. He became somewhat famous because the author of Moby Dick, Herman Melville, wrote a novel about his life.
Oh, really?
And I forget what the title of it was, and the novel ends with Isreal Potter dying when he sitting down on the hearthstone of his extinguished family's house. The family's house is gone, and he sits down and lays his head down, and he dies in sight of a hill that he worked on as a boy. It was a very nice piece of writing. I don't think it was very accurate, but what was accurate about Melville's treatment of it was that Israel Potter was completely screwed. His book, he dictated to somebody, and they wrote it for him so that he could get his pension. He was wounded 3 times at the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Okay.
And then, still wounded, he volunteered for duty on board a ship under George Washington. He was sending a ship out. He gets captured by a frigate. Him and his guys get captured by a frigate. He becomes a POW. He runs away while he's a POW in England, and he's hiding out in England.
Oh, wow.
Okay? He was even helped by King George.
Oh, you had mentioned, right.
King George even helps him out.
King George
and
III.
suggests that he goes to, and he met Benjamin Franklin in France, because he ended up taking messages across to France to Benjamin Franklin from gentlemen in England. The king told him that he would protect him as much as he could, and he would never turn him in for working in his garden, because he knew he was a Yankee. He said, but some people here are going to be jealous of you. They're going to report you, and I'm not going to be able to save you from your owners. The king's not allowed to save him from his owners, whoever his owners are.
Right, that's
so
that tells you something.
The king tells him, it gives him some money and recommends you go to London. He does go to London. He lives for 40 years in London, marries a young lady, has a bunch of children. The people could find out about this by reading on Patreon. But in the end, when he's 79 years old, and he finally gets back to the United States, the Congress does not want to give him his pension. So he writes this whole account to prove where he was. He has his scars certified by a judge, by a doctor. He found a dude that was still alive that served with him on Bunker Hill.
Oh, wow.
He's denied his pension. The reason the Congress gave was because he was a POW when the pension was issued, therefore he was not eligible.
Wow, that's your that's your America right there.
Okay, so when you see those MIA flags, in different volunteer fire departments and post offices, think of Isreal Potter, American war hero,
right?
Okay, who even risked getting hanged taking messages from London to Paris.
Right.
On British naval packets with the messages hidden in his shoe, and Continental Congress.
I'm saying, if you read about the
U.S. Congress.
Yeah, you read about the post-Revolutionary War period, like Shays Rebellion, these things, all these guys who fought and they accrued debts and they were out fighting, they come back and guess what? Oh, you can't pay your debt. They were throwing these guys in jail, and that's why a lot of other dudes had a real problem with that, especially when they had gotten really close to each other on the combat and fighting, and now you got this government telling you that you didn't get nothing, or we'll put you in jail, or whatever. You had mentioned that Simon Kenton was in jail like 3 times because he owed money.
The
guy's a hero.
Dan Boone and Simon Kenton both had their land taken from them. Boone's hounded all the way to Arkansas. He ends up making a living for a couple of years in his 60s, hunting in Montana by himself.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the Major Robert Rogers, who started the American Army Rangers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
War hero.
They locked him up too.
Yeah.
For debts.
Yeah, because he signed a voucher, so his men would not starve to death or freeze to death in the winter, and he had the stuff taken to them. The colonel above him was supposed to pay for it, but the colonel was jealous of Robert Rogers because he was literally the only hero that the British Army had in the French and Indian War.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a regular Army guy, he was a provincial.
Right. So that's interesting. Yeah, you get that. Man, I tell you, man, it's really interesting. Debt is sin. There's no forgiveness other than paying your debts. And you're paying our debts now in a different way, but the spirit is the same. So, very cool. All right, so now the next video we're going to do is the other guy you had mentioned.
Yes.
So, all right, here we go.